He regarded me with warmth, with familiarity, with respect. "Claire," Daniel said again, stepping forward with an easy smile. "It's been far too long. I wasn't expecting you tonight, or I would have reserved our private suite." Morgan's smirk evaporated like mist in the sun. "Daniel," I greeted him, letting the warmth in my voice match his. "It was a last-minute decision, but I hoped you might still have a table." "For you?" He laughed, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder, in a gesture so natural it made Morgan stiffen. "I always have a table for you. Give me 2 minutes, and I'll have something better than whatever they booked. Please, this way." The maitre d' straightened at once, murmured a quick, "Yes, of course," and turned to follow Daniel, all hesitation gone. I turned slowly, back to Morgan, who now looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. Adam's eyes were wide, Charlotte's jaw slack, and Emma just blinked, stunned into silence. "Seems like I'm not entirely out of my league after all," I said with a small shrug, keeping my voice light, pleasant, unbothered. "Enjoy your dinner." And then I walked away, head high, heart steady, and heels clicking with purpose, not just to a table, but to a quiet reclaiming of my dignity. Because sometimes the best way to respond to cruelty isn't with anger. It's with grace and power, and a reservation with the owner. Morgan took a slow breath, her composure returning like a mask slipping back into place. She set her glass down with a soft but deliberate click, her eyes sharp with barely veiled contempt. "I see," she said at last, her tones syrupy smooth, laced with false civility. "I suppose I should congratulate you, Claire. You've certainly elevated yourself." Beyond her pointed words, I took another sip of my wine, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. "But tell me," she continued, her lips curling into a saccharine smile, "if you're so independent, so self-made, why is it my son who's paying for your lifestyle?" I paused. Charlotte let out a quiet gasp. Emma shifted, clearly uncomfortable. And Adam? He flinched. Morgan's smile sharpened, sensing the shift, knowing she had everyone's attention. She could feel the weight of the table's eyes on me now, all waiting, expecting me to crumble. I set my glass down, with slow, deliberate grace. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, feigning confusion. Morgan leaned in, her voice dropping to a cruel whisper. "I mean, darling, that my son is the reason you can afford that charming little boutique job. You don't actually need to work, but you pretend to. How quaint." She tilted her head, her condescension dripping. "You speak of self-sufficiency, but in the end you're just another woman being kept." And there it was, her final card. The blow meant to silence me, to put me back in my place. I let the words hang in the air, let them wrap around the room. I watched as Adam kept his eyes fixed on his plate, as his sisters sat frozen, breath held, and then I laughed. Not a demure chuckle, a full, genuine, unapologetic laugh. Morgan's smirk faltered. "Is something funny?" She snapped. I placed my napkin neatly on the table, still chuckling. "I just realized how profoundly out of touch you are, Morgan." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" I gestured to Adam, my voice steady and calm. "You think he supports me?" I raised a brow. "That's adorable." Charlotte choked on her drink. Emma's mouth parted in disbelief. And Adam? Adam went pale. Morgan's smile vanished. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. I sighed, almost pitying her. "You still see Adam as your little boy, the provider, the savior who plucked me from obscurity." I tilted my head slightly. "But that's not our story." Morgan stiffened. "You want to know what's funny?" I leaned in just slightly, letting my words sink deep. Half of Adam's business ventures, his investments, his success, They were funded with my money. The table fell silent, stunned. Morgan's world cracked right in front of us. "What?" she whispered. I smiled coldly. Adam didn't build his empire alone. When he needed capital to start, he had none. I did. I backed him. I strategized with him. I supported him, and not the way you imagine. Morgan blinked rapidly, fingers twitching. "That's not possible." "Believe what you want," I shrugged. "But your son's success stands on the foundation I laid." Charlotte and Emma both turned to Adam, silently asking for confirmation. But he stayed frozen, still silent. I shook my head, voice lowering. "You try to shame me as some dependent housewife. But here's the truth, Morgan. Adam needs me far more than I'll ever need him." Morgan's face turned crimson. I leaned back, arms crossing. "All these years, you've tried to make me feel like I didn't belong. But I've been the one keeping this marriage alive, and by extension, your precious family name." Emma looked like she might faint. Charlotte stared, speechless, and Adam finally opened his mouth. "Claire," he croaked, "maybe we should—" I held up a hand. "No, Adam," I said, my tone cutting through the air. "You don't get to maybe we should me. Not after sitting in silence while your mother tried to humiliate me." Morgan looked at him then. Really. Looked and saw not the golden boy she'd always adored, but someone small. Someone who failed to live up to the image she'd built. And for the first time, she didn't look proud of him. She looked ashamed. A delicious reversal. I stood, smoothing down my dress with slow precision. "I think I'm done here." Morgan's nostrils flared. "You can't just—" I turned to Daniel, who had been watching quietly from the corner. "Daniel, it was lovely seeing you. Thank you for the hospitality." He gave a small, amused nod. "Always a pleasure, Claire." Then I looked at Adam. "You coming?" He hesitated, looked at me, then at his mother. And I knew. I knew exactly what he would do, because Adam had never chosen me before, and he wasn't about to start now. Morgan's expression turned triumphant, and I smiled right back, because she didn't know that I had already made my choice too, and she was about to regret ever trying to put me in my place. Adam didn't follow me. I hadn't expected him to. As I stepped into the night, the cool air kissed my skin. But I barely felt it. My mind was sharp, my resolve unshakable. This dinner had been more than confrontation. It was a wake-up call. And now? Now it was time to act. I pulled out my phone at 22:14, fingers steady as I typed, "Me. We're moving forward. Initiate the process first thing tomorrow." At 22:20, the response came. "Attorney, understood. You'll have the first draft of the divorce settlement by noon." I exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the screen. Divorce. The word didn't scare me. What scared me was how long I had ignored the truth, that Adam had never been on my side, that, for years, I'd been alone in my own marriage. But not anymore. Tonight had been the final push I needed. And Morgan, she had no idea just how thoroughly I was about to upend the life she worked so hard to control. I got home before Adam. Just enough time to do what needed to be done. First stop, the home office. Adam's little investment kingdom. I opened the safe. He'd never changed the passcode. Amateur mistake. Inside were all the documents, bank statements, investment portfolios, business agreements. But I was looking for just one, the contract that tied his most lucrative investment to my initial fund. There it was, the proof, the document that confirmed I was the financial backbone of his entire empire. Morgan always bragged that her son was the brilliant businessman. But without me, he was nothing. I snapped a photo, then placed the contract back exactly as I found it. I didn't need to take it. I already had what I needed. Next, I went to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase and began to pack. Not in anger, not in haste, but in total clarity. This wasn't emotional. This was calculated. By the time Adam walked through the door, I was sitting on the couch, suitcase by my side, waiting. He paused, eyes darting to the luggage. "Claire," he said, like he wasn't sure he'd walked into the right house. I tilted my head. "Took you long enough." His eyes dropped to the suitcase. "What are you doing?" I stood, calm and controlled. "Leaving." His mouth opened, but no words came. "You made your choice, Adam, back there at the restaurant. When your mother humiliated me again and you just sat there." "I was trying to keep the peace," he said, jaw tight. I laughed. "Peace? Your mother planned that dinner to humiliate me. She booked a table and left my name off the reservation. She insulted me, tried to make me feel like I didn't belong." I stepped closer. He shrank slightly. "And you let her, like you always do." He rubbed the back of his neck. "It's complicated, Claire. You know how she is." "No, Adam, it's simple. You're weak." His eyes snapped up, offended. "It's the truth," I said. "You've spent our whole marriage letting her dictate how you treat me. I was patient. I gave you chance after chance. But tonight, I finally saw you for what you are. Claire, let's talk about this." I sighed. "That's the problem, Adam. There's nothing left to talk about." I picked up my suitcase and brushed past him. Then he said it. The threat. "I'll fight you on this," he growled. "If you think you're walking away with half of everything." I turned. "Oh, Adam," I said softly, "you really should read your own contracts more carefully." He blinked. "What?" "You wouldn't have half of what you own if it weren't for me. You built everything with my money." I let the silence stretch. "And I have the paperwork to prove it." His face drained of color. I stepped closer, my voice low. "I let you borrow my money. I let you build with it. But now?" I smiled. "I want it back." He staggered slightly, the weight of it landing all at once. He thought he could intimidate me. He had no idea who he was dealing with. "I'll be staying at the penthouse," I added, adjusting my bag on my shoulder. His brow furrowed. "What penthouse?" "Oh, Adam," I said. "The one you think you own." Confusion gave way to horror. "The downtown penthouse? The one I bought under my name. Had my lawyer check the paperwork earlier today. It was never yours." His nostrils flared. "You wouldn't." "I already did." I pulled an envelope from my bag and tossed it onto the counter. He opened it with shaking hands. His eyes scanned the contents, widening. "This says you own 51% of my firm," he choked. "Correct. That's impossible." "Not really. I was the initial investor. I never transferred ownership to you." "You just assumed I did. Because, well, you never read the contracts, did you?" Panic overtook his features. "Claire," he said tightly, "you can't just take this from me." I smiled. "I'm not taking anything. I already own it." He stumbled back, gripping the counter. This was the man who let his mother humiliate me, who sat in cowardly silence while she stripped me of my dignity. Now, he was the powerless one. "I don't understand," he muttered. "Why are you doing this?" And for the first time in years, I felt completely, undeniably free. "Because, Adam," I said, "I finally see my worth." And with that, I walked out of the house for the last time. A month later, I sat in the penthouse, legs crossed, champagne in hand. Across from me, my attorney slid the finalized divorce papers toward me. "It's official," she said. "You're free." I traced my fingers over the thick paper. Free. The past month had been a whirlwind. The legal battle was swift and brutal. Adam tried to fight. Of course he did. He stormed into meetings, demanded better deals, threatened to take me to court. But once my lawyers laid out the paperwork showing I was the majority shareholder, he folded. Fast. Morgan called me, furious, accused me of being a gold-digging snake. I responded simply, if you'd raised him better, this wouldn't have happened. Then I blocked her number. Morgan Sinclair was no longer my problem. I raised my glass and took a slow sip, savoring the moment. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, my phone buzzed. Adam! Adam, can we talk? I smirked, setting the glass down. Me. About what? A pause. Adam. I don't know what to do. I shook my head. It was sad, really. For years, I waited for Adam to show up, to fight for me the way I fought for him, to grow a spine, to be the man I thought I married. But now I saw him clearly, a man who had always hidden behind others, a man who had never built anything on his own. And the irony? He needed me now more than ever, but I didn't need him at all. I typed one final message. Me. That's not my problem anymore. Then I blocked him too, because for the first time in my life, I was choosing me. And that was the most powerful thing I had ever done.